Hello student, welcome back for the chapter 7. We will learn in this chapter about the business finance. Okay, the sources, what are their sources? It is totally a new chapter for you because how the finance is done in the business that it generally clarifies. Okay, so let's have a glow and have a glimpses of this chapter. Okay, topic which we will be discussing in this chapters are meaning of the particular chapter, the business finance. Next one is the nature and the significance of the business finance, and the last one is the sources of business finance, which includes borrowed fund as well as the owner's fund. So let's move ahead with the meaning of the business finance. Okay, business finance is the fund required to establish, operate the business activities and expand in the future. Funds are especially required various purchase tax of tangible assets. Okay, what are tangible assets? Furniture, machinery, building, office, factories, and intangible assets or intangible assets are also given, which are patents, technical expertise, and trademarks, etc. These are the particular definition of the business finance. But here, apart from this asset mentioned above, other things that are required funding are day-to-day operational activities of a business. This activity includes purchasing raw materials, paying salaries, bill collecting, money from the client, etc. It is essential to have a sufficient amount of money to survive and grow the business. The first thing is here that if we want to survive in a market, we should have a sufficient money, because if we are not having money, that will impact our business, because the growth and the expansion cannot take place. Okay, uh, growth and expansion only can take place when we are eager to do the work. Okay, so moving ahead, we will discuss about the significance of business finance. Okay, here are the some of the significance of the business finance given. First one is a fixed capital requirement. In order to start a business, fund need to purchase a fixed assets like buildings, land, plants, and machinery. The fund required in the fixed assets remain invested in the business for a long period of time. Means all kind of activities which are done this purpose. Okay, so that are being stored by a particular unit. Okay, means if I am taking a building, that will be invested in my business for a long period of time till I till my business exists. Okay, next one is working capital requirement. Working capital requirement, a business need fund for its day-to-day operation. Okay, means what kind of activities he has to provide in a day, that has to be done. Okay, the business need fund for the day-to-day operation. This is known as working capital requirement. Working capital is required for the purchase of raw materials, to pay salaries, wages, rent, and taxes. For this kind of activity, generally the working capital requirement is there. Okay, so that has to be done in a systematic and beneficial way. Next one is diversification. A company need more fund to diversify its operation to become a multi-product company. Example, ITC means single manufacturing company can become a multi manufacturing company, but it required a good business finance for this purpose. Okay, the next one is technology upgradation. Means finance is needed to adopt modern technology. For example, uses of computers in business. Everything requires money. Okay, without money, nothing, no technology can be particularly be adopted. Okay, so technology upgradation is the way, uh, this way can be only be approved by the significance of business finance. Next and the last one is the growth and expansion. Higher growth of business enterprises required higher investment in the fixed asset. So finance is needed for the growth and expansion. Okay, any kind of things which has to be performed required a growth and expansion. So the money is also required. So the money plays a major role in this purpose. Next one is the sources of finance on the basis of ownership. The two funds which are generally being used here are owners fund and borrowed fund. So we will discuss this one by one. Okay, so here are the owners fund. Owners fund refers to the fund contributing by owners as well as accumulated profit by the company. This fund remains with the company. It has no liability to return. For example, equity share and retained earning. These are the particularly sort of example. Owners fund which I have invested, in which I have to not give any kind of interest to anyone. Okay, a businessman, the amount businessman generally clarifies it that I am using 2 crore rupees in my business, so that interest I have to not pay back to my the creditors. So that's are the owner's fund. Next one is the features of the owner's fund. They don't have the charges over the assets. They don't put the burden on the company. They don't carry fixed rate of dividend. Means the same thing which I explained, that it does not have nothing to do with the particular activity of the business. They have to not borrow or do any kind of activities. Okay. Next one is the borrowed fund. Borrowed fund refers to the borrowing of the business firm in a company. Okay. Borrowed fund consists of the finance raised by the debenture holders, public deposit, financial institution, and commercial bank. The first thing which strikes to our mind is that in this you have to pay the interest. Okay, if you are taking the money like debenture holders, a certain percentage given to them. Okay. So now moving ahead, in the last part is the feature of the borrowed fund. The first one is the permanent capital, no obligations on the no obligations on as to dividend, no charge on assets, sources of prestige, small denomination, and suitable adventurous investors, means who are investing in the particular activities, they work in their favor. Okay, this was regarding the feature of the borrowed fund. For this part 1, this much, and in the later part we'll discuss many things. In this particular video we have discussed the meanings, nature, and the significance of business finance, sources of business finance, which are owner's fund and borrowed fund. Okay, we'll continue with the second part. uh, Thank you for this.